here over at SubScribe, or the various other links. So Brie Larson is back. She's gonna. At one time, Brie Larson was a big deal. If you put her name in the title, either real people would come and lose their minds over any criticism of her, or people would send the bots automatically. I don't know how that would work. But what kind of kicked off the issue with Brie Larson and why she's kind of persona non grata is maybe 10 years ago, she was doing some interview and or some acceptance speech from some kind of feminist something, and she made some ageist, misandrist, and anti-white comments, and they were like very clearly on the face of it very, very racist and offensive comments, and she never apologized for it. She never tried to, I mean, there's no way you can walk those things back, and it's like, oh, she gets a pass because she's on the left. She can say things that are ageist or sexist, and it's like it was just totally accepted. So that's kind of what kicked that off, and that was like 10 years ago. So it says here she's going to be one of the main characters in Avengers Doomsday, which you might be curious about because her sequel to Captain Marvel was a massive letdown, especially when you consider the success of the first one, which is over $1 billion, which only makes sense when you realize that Disney Marvel was at the top of their game at that time period, pre 2020 was all this stuff kind of took it. That last big movie was kind of the end of Marvel, and Captain Marvel was in between almost the two biggest films in history. I was going to say it was the two biggest films, but I think that what's that movie that was the Civil War movie? And it's like Frankly Scarlet, I don't give a damn, whatever that movie. I think that was actually number one when you take into account population sizes and whatnot. But for these kind of movies, I think these records are going to stand. The Avengers 1 and 2, the final battle, I think that's going to stand for Hollywood probably forever, because I think Hollywood is moving away from the big screen. I think big screen Hollywood is going to transition to streaming platforms and lower budgets, because you just can't continue to make $200-300 million movies and lose $100 million here or $50 million there. Eventually, even for BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, that kind of money adds up. So the Captain Marvel movie with a cat and that black guy, I forget his name, with the eye patch, who is himself a race swap character from the original comic. But Disney absolutely loves girl power, and even though that was a mediocre movie, it made $1 billion. But that was even Hollywood knew that that movie did not deserve $1 billion. It deserved just to break even, if that. So anyway, 5 years later or so, they do the sequel to Captain Marvel, and it has even more diversity hires with Black Girl Magic. I think that was a movie with that line in it, because everyone knows what a market draw female non-whites are for the action adventure films for men. I mean, they're kind of like, not to change universes, but like kryptonite for Superman. The problem is that I should have got it all mixed up and like confused Marvel and DC and Star Wars and Star Trek. You have to, if you say it with a straight face so people think you're serious, and then you watch their facial expressions change, it's amazing. It's like how you trigger nerds. So the problem is that political correctness has been forced on people, so they won't just give their honest opinions on things. Because if they have the audacity to commit, she's not bad in movies. People say she's wooden. I mean, that's how the roles are written. They're written for her. That's not her fault. She's actually, I kind of like her in movies, but it's just weird that she made those comments, and that kind of poisoned everyone on her. She could be a fun character, but like Marvel has painted themselves into a corner with the direction they're going in with, calling it's woke. Like woke's just an umbrella term, you know what I mean when I say it. But the problem is, if people criticize this stuff at all, you'll have whack jobs who will go after you. They'll try to take your channel down or get you kicked off of Twitter or social media. They're the ones who are jumping in front to defend the $153 billion Disney. And you look at them like, I thought you guys were on the left. What's kind of weird look that you're defending, big master corporate Disney. It's like, oh, well, Disney's pushing our globalist values. It's like, but okay, I accept like, yes, we're all on the same page of that, but that means that the movies are just propaganda. You know they're pushing left-wing, toxic left-wing Bolshevism and Marxism. You know that. The right wing might not exactly call something globalist, or they might not use those kind of hot words, which you're not supposed to use on YouTube. But they know that something's wrong with these movies, and they're not seeing them. It's if they back in the day, it just used to be called preachy and heavy-handed. And hey, some blonde guy on a motorcycle goes up to Captain Marvel. I think this was in the first one, and in a scene reminiscent of Terminator 2, give me your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle. But he was a good guy in that. He was the good robot in T2. She, I don't know, he touches her newspaper or something, and so she tortures him and steals his stuff. I think they edited the torture part out because it's like he's a blonde guy. Of course, he's going to make a sexist comment because he's on a motorcycle. I mean, this is how many I've been saying for years about they like use blonde motorcycle gangs. I'm using that as a euphemism for white because that's another hot word for YouTube. Where like these motorcycle gangs, like it's 1949 or something, and they really, I mean, that's the only way they can make bad guys, because you can't have any bad guy who's not blonde, even to the point of their storyline requires it. Oh yeah, it's these motorcycle gangs, militias, and fair-skinned Supreme Pizzas who are running Chicago, Detroit, St. Louis, and they're actually smuggling in concentrated stimulants for that inner city market. And they got these militias all throughout Montana and Idaho. And it's just like this suspension of disbelief just doesn't go that far, that you think Detroit and Chicago and St. Louis are run by blondes on Harleys. Absolutely insane. So people can't give honest criticism anymore because you've got the insane SJWs whose whole belief system is tied in with Disney and Warner Brothers and big Hollywood. I mean, they're the ultimate Coomer consumers. It's just consume product and wait for new product. And I think a lot of people are at the point of PTSD with woke, diverse, feminist themes, such that they don't want to see any at all, non-blondes, because they know that means woke, heavy-handed propaganda, because it always does. I almost said it almost always does, but lately it's like, oh yeah, it's 100%. It's just almost 100%, very, very close. But the thing is, the movies, you have to have a better rate of return to gamble on a movie experience. You go, okay, well, it's go to the theater, you pay the money. It's like it's a 2-hour experience. And for almost everything that has come out, there's nothing that's worth watching. I was thinking, my buddy and I should go see a movie and we talk about it. And then I caught myself and go, there's nothing out. Like not only is there no movies out, but there won't be any movies. I'm dog sitting, this little dog's yapping. There won't be any movies in the future. All I can say about her is she is in phenomenal shape. She did a fitness channel during the whole Wu Flu thing, I think, to build up support for the next movie, which didn't work. And she is like, this girl does not touch carb. So people have got PTSD from POCs, basically. It's just really no nice way to say that. Or if they see women, or the worst combo is going to be non-white women, because they're guaranteed Mary Sue characters. And Hollywood is stuck in this bizarre Marxist revolution, but they can't force people to go to the theaters yet. They love making these propaganda movies, but nobody's watching it for some wacky reason. And not even the left-wing people are watching it, which is the really confusing things. And the thought bubble over somebody's head is if they see a black character, they go, oh, it's going to be a purse puppy with some kind of anti-white messaging, probably about, what was the joke about, I don't know if I can say it, the Black Panther movie. Somebody before it came out, they go, yeah, there's going to be a line in there about basketball, unpaid service, and missing patrilineal branch. And as it turned out, it was like that was in the first 10 minutes of the movie. So, and then they also do the thing like with the Shuri type, where if you have a Pox character like that, she has to be the smartest scientist, even smarter than all the other guys who are around her. And the blonde characters have to be the evil fall guys. I mean, it's formulaic to the point where even people who are not paying attention goes, this just feels really, really heavy-handed. Or if you see South Americans of some variety, like in that Blue Cockroach movie, you know that they're going to preach about Trump and immigration. It's so formulaic now. I think they've kind of set Hollywood on the path of Sudoku. Now everything is going to be non-Euro and vagina powered, except for the bad guys who will all be blonde Germans, Russians, or South Africans. And like, you think I'm kidding about that? It's so they can make them blonde. And to be honest, the most interesting part of Hollywood is watching them make bombing movies and lose money and pretend not to understand why a coming-of-age exploration of 3 black lesbians who lecture the audience on the cis-hetero-Euro male patriarchy, colonization, and deconstruction of the oppressive whatever. You get the idea. Like, those movies are just not connecting to the audience. Or there was that gay guy, Eichenwald, who made some movie about gays, but it was too graphic and it was just too, I don't know, it was too graphic. It was too gross. Nobody cares about all that, or lectures on pronouns. Nobody gives a shit about any of that. Nobody believes it. I mean, it's not a question of like, we know it's not real. It's not that we think it's not real. We know it's not real because we're adults. It's a fad. We know it's a fad. The politicians are pretending to go along with this because they're pandering to you. Nobody actually believes this stuff is real, and in a few years it will all disappear like every other fad throughout history has disappeared. It's got to be the lamest fad in history where you sterilize your own kids. That's probably the darkest fad. I mean, not really a joking matter when you mutilate children. The other thing is that the entire genre of the whole superhero thing, that's just feels... They're superheroes, but they're not really heroic, and they're not aspirational, inspirational characters. And if you make a character that catches on, you're going to race swap them. Yeah, I think the whole thing's kind of over because the willing suspension of disbelief just doesn't cover it anymore. There's only so much propaganda you can take before it takes you out of the movie, where you've got guys who are playing Thor and Captain America who are super fit guys, Chris Hemsworth and something I don't know, those two. There's like 3 interchangeable blonde guys that all kind of look, they're just super fit dudes. It's somewhat believable when you have them playing these magical roles, but then when you have some 100-pound woman doing the same thing, or every POC has got a PhD in chemistry, it's just a bridge too far. You just can't accept you can't accept every statistical improbability to come up time after time after time in every single one of these superhero movies. There's always going to be a black Shuri character, and there's always going to be a blonde fall guy, and it's so formulaic to the point of you can predict the movie ahead of time, and you could write the review ahead of time because it's going to be the same. I think, like I said, I think you're going to see big screen Hollywood not know what to do to them to save themselves, because I don't think they can save themselves. They don't want to, don't get me wrong. Like, it's a I don't know, it's a synergistic thing where they're feeding off each other because there's social media. You have the SGWs on Twitter who are encouraging this stuff, and they're virtue signaling, but they're not putting their money where their mouth is, which is the big problem for Hollywood. They're not paying at all. And then you have Hollywood, who is very firmly drinking left-wing Marxist Kool-Aid. They are left-wing. It's not, Twitter is not dragging them to the left. They'd be going no matter what, but they are getting positive reinforcement from Twitter, and that virtue signaling, it's sending out this message of, they see something woke and they go, shut up and take my money. They say that line specifically all the time. And or they go, when are we getting a movie of, some gay, trans, furry, lesbian, otherkin of colors with colors and colors? And then when the thing comes out, it's like, hey, this movie was made for you. It's just as woke as, I don't know, KY jelly. And they just don't go see it for whatever reason. They're just not into it. It's like, oh yeah, we just said that to virtue signal on Twitter just for a little dopamine, some neurotransmitters, is a little bit of a boost. They go, yeah, but we spent the $200 million to make you a diverse Peter Pan with some like Indian and black characters or something, and you didn't see it. So that's, we just lost $150 million. Yeah. Yeah. And they're gonna keep doing that to the point where, I don't know. I've never seen anything like this. Like Kool-Aid Cults, the South American Jim Jones thing, which actually is interesting because it was a diverse cult. That's a small cult with a relatively small amount of money where you've got like less than 100 people who think a comet is going to come and it's a spaceship and they're going to send their souls off to the spaceship. And who am I to say that it didn't work? I have no idea. But this is, and they're dealing in thousands and tens of thousands of dollars as a self-deletion organization. Have a good time, I suppose. But Hollywood is different because you're talking about $150 billion Disney, and Warner Brothers is in the same billions of dollars. All these companies, Amazon, Netflix, these are billion-dollar companies, but they're tied into State Street, Vanguard, BlackRock. So it's kind of other people's money for a while, but eventually you run out of other people's money. So I don't think there's ever been anything like this throughout history where companies have got together, American companies, Hollywood companies got together and said that this is a religion. And this is a religion. I know I say that and it sounds crazy to people. This is as much a religion as Jim Jones was in wherever he was, Argentina, passing out Kool-Aid. It's just at a larger scale. These people are all on the same page. They're all drinking the same mental Kool-Aid, and they thought, and they're all like, they don't have to get together and have secret meetings in what was it, Occidental, like the Alex Jones, the Alex Jones kind of stuff. What was that thing called? Somewhere up in like Northern California, Occidental, where there are these campsites and stuff. They don't have to have those meetings and get together and go, okay, let's make sure we're on the same page. These are all just degenerate people. They're all already on the same page. It's just going into the path of degeneracy. That's why they're all kind of swimming in the same direction. And that's why you're seeing all these companies go in this woke direction. And all it would take would be if one company decided to go, you know what, we're gonna make movies like it's 1984. Fuck it. We're gonna put a bunch of hot blonde Swedish bikini team people in there, and we're gonna sell that. That company would be number one with a bullet. They would blow everyone out of the water. They would be printing money. And don't you think it's a little weird that Amazon, for instance, one company doesn't just turn things around? Like with Rings of Power is a great example, and I know I've said it a million times, is if they made Rings of Power so it looked like Peter Jackson's film, so it looked accurate, you would be printing money. There would be hundreds of millions of dollars in net profit. If Disney Star Wars, there's been about 8 Disney Star Wars streaming shows. I said this to somebody on Twitter and she lost her mind. I go, if you made that look visually like 77 Star Wars, and she says, wait, but that was mostly white people. Yes, that's you created the canon of Star Wars in 77. It was mostly fair-skinned people. If you made it look like that, Disney would be on top. They would be selling Star Wars. It would be a resurgence in Star Wars. It would be amazing. Instead of what they're doing now is losing money with everything they touch. And they just can't do it. So don't you think that's weird? Because they're publicly traded companies. They're incorporated in Delaware, however companies work these days. That means you can buy their stock on a NASDAQ and New York Stock Exchange. And they have a fiduciary duty to the shareholders. And you could argue that they're breaching that duty by not maximizing return on investment. Don't you think it's weird that they're going in this woke direction and losing money for years? Anyway, the thing is, like, it really is, you think it's tinfoil hat stuff, but it's not. They don't, to think otherwise, to think they're either consciously making bad decisions means they're dumb people, but they're managing billions of dollars. Dumb people don't manage billions of dollars. So that means they're doing this. There's like intentional, reckless, and negligence in terms of a degree of intent and planning. They're doing this intentionally. They didn't just stumble into a $150 billion company. This is all intent. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys all next episode.